Looking for these better days.
It is Monday, September 29th. I'm Scott Seidenberg. Here's what you need to know to make today a better day. We have a Monday Night Football doubleheader tonight, which wraps up week number 4 of the NFL season. Last night, a drunk game ended in a tie, 40-40 on Sunday Night Football, plus a slew of exciting results and finishes from yesterday's Week 4 NFL Sunday slate. Mackenzie Rivers is with me here on this episode of Better Day. And Mac, let's start with that game last night. If you told somebody that was watching that fourth quarter and overtime that near the 2-minute warning of the first half, this was a 13-2 football game, they'd probably say you were the drunk one because they wouldn't believe it. But that's exactly what this was. This was a 13-2 football game. Now, how did we get to 13-2? Well, the Packers were about to go up 14-0, but then a blocked extra point gets returned for a 2-point conversion. So it's 13-2. And then all of a sudden, Cowboys score a touchdown. Jordan Love with the bad strip sack fumble. Cowboys score another touchdown. They go into the half up by 3. And next thing you know, we have a back and forth second half and a ridiculous fourth quarter into overtime. I don't know how to sum up last night's game other than to just say it's like we said earlier. We're just going to bet the over in every Cowboys game. They can score on offense.
Make sense.
Their defense is terrible. And the Packers defense, which was once regarded as one of the top units in the NFL, that was some of the worst defense we've ever seen get played last night.
Maybe. I mean, definitely the result is bad. The New York Giants giving up 37. The Packers, you would think, could be a lot better than that. They gave up 40. But I got to say, watching the game, Dak Prescott made some incredible throws. They scored 5 touchdowns on their final 7 possessions, and at least 4 of them, there was some fadeaway, out of bounds lob to the pylon that was caught, or some dart that's like on 4th down or 3rd down right to the ground where Pickens picks it off the ground. Dak Prescott is elite. He's like been a top 10 quarterback every year except for last year where he was terrible and then he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
The team was terrible. But he's been a top 10 quarterback in PFF and QBR, 2 of the metrics I look at, 2022, 2023, now 2025. He's second in PFF before these grades, and he's going to be top 10 in QBR when that comes out after this week. We expected the Packers to win by 6, and they win easily. I mean, and then they end up tying. Their offense does what we expected, tear up the Cowboys' defense. So I don't think we learned a lot there. But the Cowboys' offense beating this Packers' defense for 40 points, I think we have to do a major upgrade for Dak Prescott on the offense, and definitely somewhat of a downgrade. But I do think it was mostly Cowboys' offense, good offense, rather than Packers' bad defense.
I'm just pointing to a couple of plays that I thought were just bad defense. There was the one catch by Pickens on a crucial 3rd down late in the fourth quarter where it's like, how could the defense allow a free runner on the outside, especially the number 1 target for Dak Prescott the entire game? And they just and they show the replay, and one cornerback is pointing to like the other, like they were clearly playing like a cover 2, like a zone coverage, but as like one guy is supposed to pass him off to the other guy, but the other guy wasn't there, and they are pointing just like wide open. And then the Cavante Turpin, like that was, Dak Prescott wasn't trying to complete that pass. He was throwing it into an area, and his receiver made an incredible play. And if you watch that replay, number 25 on the Packers defense gives up on the play. Turpin is in the end zone. The ball's in the air, and he runs back and makes an incredible play where the defender just watches it happen. Like
it was such a good throw that the defender couldn't believe it, and he was stopped in his tracks watching this amazing throw. I mean, no quarterback knows exactly where the ball is going to land, but he threw it to a place he thought his receiver had a better chance of getting it than the defender, and he won it.
So great play there, and that was the crucial play for the Cowboys. I just feel like with a minute left in the game, the Packers score the touchdown to go up by 4. How do you do that? How do you have the collapse on defense to allow the Cowboys to just march right down the field and score a touchdown? And then so they get the field goal to tie it anyway immediately, like literally 50 seconds. So then it goes into overtime. They win the toss and elect to play defense. I understand the philosophy there, okay, of playing defense because knowledge is power, right? And going second in overtime, you know what you have to have.
Yeah.
And you have the luxury of having 4 downs to do it as opposed to 3 downs to do it. Because if you
Which
have the
did
first
end up
possession,
mattering.
if you have the first possession in overtime, you're going to kick a field goal when you're in field goal range on 4th down. And you need to know what you need to get, and you have that luxury. I will say, though, by having the football first, you can almost dictate the entire overtime possession.
Sure. Yeah.
It is 10 minutes. And what the Cowboys did was genius. And I don't know if it was by design or just how it happened, but you should have zero urgency on that drive. You should have an 8-minute drive. Ideally, you should have a 10-minute drive, but you should have an 8-minute possession there because the less time that you can allow the other team to have their possession, they are now not only fighting to chase whatever you got on your possession, but they're also playing against the clock. And the luxury that you have by going first is that you are not playing against the clock. And so it comes down to, what would you rather have? Would you rather have 4 downs knowing what you need to get, or would you rather have no time constraints? And the Cowboys milked the clock on that first possession. They wound up scoring, and that was it. Like the Packers, all they can do was play for a field goal.
They had enough time. I mean, it wasn't. They kind of bled the clock a little bit too much themselves, the Packers. They had the ball at the 40-yard line with 2 minutes, 6-yard pass. The next play they run at 1:15. Like, that's I mean, I get that they don't want the Cowboys to get the ball back, and you don't know if you're going to score or not. But they definitely didn't make it easy for themselves with 28 seconds on the 2nd and 13 at the 15-yard line. You would like 45 seconds, so you'd like the option to run a little bit more. I do kind of feel like they were the better team. Obviously, it kind of gave the game away, though. I don't think it was just the Cowboys' overperformance. I feel like coaching, offense, defense, this was kind of just not a great game for the Packers.
I agree. Not a great game for LaFleur. Not a great game for the Packers. Final thing on this game, I hate ties, and there's not a great solution.
How would you fix it? I would do a 1 down after overtime, 1 down, 4th and 7. My offense versus your defense. You flip a coin to see who's on offense, just like the beginning of every game. And it's about a 50-50 scenario, which is nice. And it's unlike penalties in soccer, which sucks and everybody hates them, even the most diehard soccer fan. It's actual football. It's 1 down. It's about a 50-50 chance. And, let the better man win.
See, I jokingly said last night on Twitter, I was like, listen, the World Cup is decided by penalties. I was like, why can't we just play a 10-minute overtime? Both teams had the possession. Let's just line the field goal kickers up from the 50-yard line.
I don't mind that either.
And then we go
mind a kickoff.
And we go kick for kick. And if they make it, they go back 5 yards. So you start at the 50, right? And then so that's a 60-yard field goal. Right off the bat, because I don't want to make it easy. You got to start with a different field goal. So you kick it from the 50. Right?
It's probably going to go 1-1 at 60. Yeah.
So you kick it from the 60. Now if both kickers make it or both kickers miss it, then you just go back 5 yards and you do it from 65. But I think the majority of times it might just end after one kick. Now you could also have the scenario where if the other team blocks it, and they return it for a touchdown, you don't even have to kick it.
I was thinking it was just the 2 kickers out there. You have the whole team lined up, so they're all going all out for the block. All right.
Yes,
and they always go all out for the block.
And you do get the luxury though that there could be a penalty on the defense, which then helps you get a lesser kick. And it's not like you get a first down, but instead of a 60-yard field goal, now your field goal might be 55 yards. Or if it's a roughing the kicker, now your field goal is going to be 45 yards. You know what I'm saying? So the defenses are out there.
Would happen because usually as a defensive team on the kickoff, you're thinking 2% chance they fake it, 1% chance we block it. So we kind of play our odds, maybe opposite. But in that scenario, going all out for the block with some reps to get it going, there would be some penalty roughing the kickers. There'd also be some crazy blocks to win a game, which would be like epic moments. What I liked about that is, unlike penalties, which is unlike any other play in soccer, we actually kick field goals. This is actually real football, as we call it. to decide football. So I like that.
And like I said, if the first team that's on defense, so the first, like let's say, you win the toss and you elect to go on defense first. So the other team tries to kick it. If I block it and return it for a touchdown, the game's over. I don't have to kick it. I won.
Yeah, and if you block it, there's a very good chance that you're going to make the next kick and walk
Yeah,
out of there winner anyway.
But your kicker can miss it. Your kicker can get it blocked. Like I just think, and think about how rare this is. How many ties do we have in a year? 2 at the most.
But about 2 a year. Speaking in recent years, speaking of rare, when it was 13-2, I looked it up. It was not a scoregami. There had been a 13-2. There has not been a 40-40 prior to last night. 40-40 is a scoregami. Wow. Tell your grandkids about it. This is something we're gonna remember for a couple weeks.
We got to just stop having ties. It's terrible.
It sucks. No one likes ties.
Almost
kills, kills you in Survivor, but you don't even cash that leg of the parlay. It's the worst.
Almost as bad as the European team pulling the fast one and having a golfer have a little neck injury and therefore the match gets halved, and so the U.S. doesn't have a chance to win the Ryder Cup. So anyway, that's
brilliant.
My golf rant. Yeah, brilliant.
Wow, those conniving Europeans. Wow.
All right, let's talk about some other results from yesterday. Jackson Dart got his first start for the New York Giants. Shout out to those who followed along with our Jackson Dart longest rushing prop that cashed. And on VSiN on Saturday night, I gave out the prop Jackson Dart anytime touchdown. We cashed that as well.
Nice. What was that? Plus 650?
Plus 380.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice bet though.
That was a nice one that I gave out there on VSiN. Make sure you guys are watching when I'm on VSiN on Saturday nights too. I mean, why not? And that was just it was a great game to watch from a Giants perspective because now full disclosure, I felt it was a desperation move to go to Jackson Dart. I felt that it was a move that Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen, the general manager, were making because it's their only chance to save their jobs, and it wasn't about winning football games right now because. I'm still baffled that Jameis Winston never got a chance to be the quarterback of this team. He was never given the fair shot to be in an open competition with Russell Wilson. And when Russell Wilson sucked, they didn't even think about going to Jameis Winston. And I'm baffled by it from a football perspective, but I understand it from an organizational perspective because the only way that Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen get another year with the Giants is if Jackson Dart shows promise. And then John Mara can say, well, you know what? Hey, we watched Jackson Dart, and Brian, he looks good, man. We're going to give you a shot to coach this kid because you showed us something this year. That's the only chance he has to keep his job. Now, did I expect the Giants to go out there and win yesterday against the Chargers? No. Did I like the Giants plus the points? Yes. Chargers were in a bad spot. 3 tough divisional games to start the year, travel cross-country to play a Giants team, an upstart quarterback now in Jackson Dart. He utilized his legs. Great performance. I still think the Giants now, even with obviously the big news, Malik Neighbors is going to be done for the year with the torn ACL. That's a huge blow.
You're calling it. You're calling it.
Well,
I have not heard the official, but we knew it. I knew like within 20 seconds of the play happening.
Sure and that's the reports that they fear it's a torn ACL. Obviously, he's going to undergo the imaging later on today, here on Monday, and then it'll be confirmed. But I still think even with Neighbors being out, the Giants can go over their 5.5 win total. This was a huge win.
Yep.
And now you look at
New Orleans, that's a win. That's
exactly.
A win, dog.
So you look at the schedule now for the Giants, and as we break the season up into quarters, let's start, it's not 4, it's not 4 every quarter anymore, but it's 5 in the first quarter, 5 in the first week, and then 4. If the Giants go 2-3 in their first 5 games, that's a victory considering their schedule. Then you look at the next 4 games, Eagles, Broncos, Eagles, 49ers. Can you steal 1 win? Okay, if you don't, let's move on to the next quarter. Bears, Packers, Lions, Patriots. Can you get 1 win? If the answer is yes, can you steal a 2nd win?
Maybe Chicago. Maybe at Chicago.
We'll see. And then the final stretch of the season, Commanders, Vikings, Raiders, Cowboys. Can you get 1 win? Can you get 2?
You can get 1 for sure. You're going to get 1.
Okay.
I think you're going to get 1, either the Commanders or Vikings or Raiders. Maybe you get 2.
So if the Giants
that's a bunch of wins. If you get 2-1 and 2-1, that's way more than 5.
Well, if you get 1, 1, and 2, that's 6 wins on the season.
Right.
So I do think that there's a way for the Giants to get to 6 wins. And let me say this. I hate to try and put a positive spin on the Malik Neighbors injury, but if I can for a second offer you any type of positive spin on a Malik Neighbors injury, is that sometimes when a young quarterback comes in, they might feel pressured to force feed an alpha player like Malik Neighbors. And without that alpha player like Malik Neighbors on the field, Jackson Dart might be more free to just react and to just play football and to spread the ball around to whatever he sees, as opposed to feeling the pressure. Now, it's different when there's a veteran. A veteran comes in, they're not going to feel the pressure. You know, it's a vet comes in, a guy who's been in the league for a couple of years. He's not going to say, listen, I know Malik Neighbors is pissed because he's not getting the football, but like honestly, I read the defense, I read this. I'm gonna make my calls, and I'm gonna get the ball to who I think is open here. But if I'm a rookie starting for the first time and I'm trying to cement myself and trying to solidify myself as a leader on this team, obviously you want the backing of one of the best players and the best player on the team and a leader on the team. So you might feel pressured as a young kid to force feed Malik Neighbors. And I think that it might actually be better for Jackson Dart's development that he won't have to do that this season.
I think you're right. And I think the Giants were already force feeding Malik Neighbors. If you look at targets and EPA per target, he was one of the most targeted, mediocrely successful, which wasn't all his fault. The ball doesn't get there a lot through the first 3 weeks. And here's how you know it wasn't that big of it, or rather that the Giants have more optimism than they should feel bad about Malik Neighbors going down. Malik Neighbors goes down, and their line doesn't move at all. It actually moved up after their performance, where they're now 2-point favorites at the Saints, or it was 1.5 last week. So you lose a player that's worth a point conservatively, and you're upgraded a half point. That's a huge 1.5 point upgrade net for your win against the Chargers.
The one thing we just have to see stop is Cam Scatterbo. No more backflips, dude. He did another one yesterday. Like, stop doing it. Okay? Because the last thing the Giants need is for him to come down with an injury after he does a backflip in a celebration. Like, chill, dude. We understand you're a wild character. Stop with the backflips, please. Someone's got to say 4
yards per carry for backflips. That's the new rule.
Yeah.
3.2 doesn't cut it. No backflips this week.
Big win for the New York Giants. That was a lot of FOMO on my part for not betting that. It seemed like a great spot, and I just couldn't pull the trigger, and I didn't do it. I did play the dart props, though, but I should have pulled the trigger on the Giants covering that spread. It was a pretty successful Sunday, pretty much, here for us. We did miss that Vikings game. Boy, I did not expect Kenneth Gainwell to dominate the Vikings defense the way he did in Dublin, Ireland. But if you look at the game as a whole, Mackenzie, if you take out the 80-yard catch and run touchdown by DK Metcalf, did the Steelers do much offensively? Or did Aaron Rodgers, I should say? Yeah. Did Aaron Rodgers do much offensively?
No. I mean,
no.
Four incomplete passes on 22 attempts, but still only a 39 QBR. That is what they call dink and dunk. When you have a 120 QB rating, passer rating, and less than 200 yards, that is called not losing the game, which I think I got that wrong because I thought the Steelers would get blown out here. I like the Vikings a lot. But Brian Flores' defense probably works better against those rookie quarterbacks that you can fool, second-year quarterbacks you can fool, like Michael Penix, some of the other wins they had, Caleb Williams. Against Aaron Rodgers, it did not seem to flummox him that much, even though he didn't do that much. I also think Joe Flacco next week is going to have an opportunity to kind of keep that game a little closer than we might think. Currently, Browns are catching 4.5 in London. 3.5 to 4.5 versus the Vikings, versus the Browns.
And keep in mind, the Vikings are now staying in the UK. They're just traveling from Dublin to London, so it's not exactly.
You think that's a big advantage? It's definitely an advantage. I don't know.
It's an hour flight. It's an hour flight.
I mean, yeah, the travel is a huge advantage, but staying in a foreign country during the season might not be the most comfortable thing compared to what other teams are experiencing.
Or it's treated like another training camp, and you're away from any distractions.
Outlets. You can't just bring your own. You have your laptop, then you have your laptop outlet. That's annoying for 2 weeks.
It's a great point. How are they going to check their emails?
I'm just saying that moves it from a point to a half point improvement for the Vikings.
All right, let's talk about the great bounce back spot for the Falcons coming off of the shutout loss last week. They beat up on the Commanders 34-27. Michael Penix looked much better in this game. This was one where there was a flip of the favorite, obviously, with the announcement of no Jaden Daniels, no Terry McLaurin,
Right.
and this was just a tremendous bounce back spot, in my opinion. And if you looked at all the trends and the numbers, it just screamed Falcons here. So Falcons were, one of my plays, and it just made too much sense to back the Falcons.
Michael Penix arguably had his worst game of his career, losing to the Panthers with a 12 QBR. Arguably the best game of his career the next week. That is what you want to see from a young quarterback at home. 90 QBR, 34 points, only 6 incomplete passes in the win.
Yeah, great performance there. Bills struggled a bit with the Saints, but they pulled away late. Josh Allen had his way. James Cook is inevitable. He scores in every single game. It's ridiculous. And, the Saints put up a good fight, but not enough. They did cover, though. That's all that matters to people that were backing the Saints, is they did get a cover. But then again, when you're 15.5-point dogs, it doesn't take much to cover the spread here, So, good performance, though.
189 yards on the ground, though. If you're the Bills, that's got to be worrisome. They are 4-0. They're Super Bowl favorites. With a distinction. The tier 2 with the Eagles and the Packers are definitely below where the Bills are at. Ravens way below that. So they've been upgraded on the season, but I would be worried about their defense.
This next game was like my favorite play of the week. Now, up on the website, up on betterday.com, and we give out picks. I always say this. I'm not going to control how you manage your bankroll. So every play that I give out is graded on the same level. It's graded on a 1-unit scale. I don't say that I have a 5-unit play. There's no such thing as a 10-unit banger. I don't have a game of the year, game of the month, anything like that. We just handicap the games. We give you the insights. The Lions were my favorite play of the week. If I was going to do multiple units on a game, it was the Detroit Lions.
Right.
First off, we were fading the Cleveland Browns coming off of the historic upset that they pulled over the Green Bay Packers.
Great trend. And you win as a big dog.
Yep.
Got the win out of the way. You don't win as a big dog the next week. Panthers fell into that, lost by $1 billion. Browns fell into that, lost by $1 trillion.
Absolutely. The other reason why I was all over the Lions here is because, and I presented this all week. I brought it up to Fez when he was a guest on my VSiN show on Saturday night. The power rankings. This made no sense, this spread, from a power ranking perspective. So I'm going to pull the exercise with you, Mackenzie, and let's.
By the
way,
I love the Lions here too. I also love the Buccaneers. So 1-1 of my best bets. But I love the Lions. That was one of my best bets of the week.
Let me do the exercise with you. Over the last 2 weeks, prior to this week, so we did not see any performance here in week number 4, but over the last 2 weeks, have you upgraded or downgraded the Cleveland Browns?
For the last 2 weeks,
last 2 weeks, they get blown out by the Ravens, and they pull the miracle upset against the Packers.
I would say a small upgrade.
Okay, small, maybe like a half a point, nothing much. All right, I don't honestly, because I think the blowout and then the fluke win, to me, it's like it cancels out.
It was a fluke win, but it was a good way to stay in the game against the Packers.
Okay, but I downgrade them from getting blown out, and then if you upgrade them from getting the win, I think it evens out. So I think overall, I don't really think that they're a different team in 2 weeks.
Sure.
Now the Detroit Lions, how would you rate them differently from week 2 on? Now, they lose in week 1 to the Packers, but then they put up 50-somewhat points in week number 2, but a boatload of points in week number 3. You got to feel, and a win against the Ravens?
90 points and 2 wins in 2 weeks. I thought they were going to have the season from hell maybe after the Packers to obviously one of the contenders in the NFC after 2 weeks. So major upgrade.
Major upgrade, right? Major upgrade. And now the final part of this equation is which field or stadium is the more difficult home field? Is it Baltimore or Detroit?
Neflo gives us the data, the best home field advantage over the last couple of years, the fast track in Detroit.
Okay. The Browns were 12.5-point dogs 2 weeks ago in Baltimore. There's no way that they were 9.5-point dogs in Detroit. A 3-point adjustment in 2 weeks for what? For what? The Lions, if anything, should be even with the Ravens going into this game yesterday, right? And
Yeah,
Detroit's a much more difficult home field.
Detroit's a more difficult home field, but I think the market, at least ahead of this week, would put the Ravens a few points better than the Lions. Maybe not
Even though
3
the
points.
Lions went into Baltimore and beat the Ravens and probably
Yeah,
have been upgraded by more
the
than
market is a
anybody.
slave to its priors. I'll just say yesterday, the Ravens were road favorites in Kansas City. They shouldn't have been. That was wrong
Yeah,
too.
sure.
But Detroit would never be a road favorite in Kansas City.
That's a fair point.
Not in
That's a
5
fair
years.
point. It's a fair point. The bottom line that I was trying to make is that the 12, maybe it shouldn't have been the same as Baltimore at 12 and a half. It should have been 11 and a half.
Yeah,
It definitely
for
shouldn't have
sure.
been 9.5. So
And then the
Lions
spot,
win.
like you said, the
Yeah.
spot was a terrible place to be on the road after the big win. Nice cover for us. We got there.
But
Good
I
handicap.
I do think it's a good exercise for people when you're trying to look at these spreads. It's not so
For sure.
much about the spot, which obviously the spot screams out to you, right?
But the market's never going to, I mean, the algorithm, the bookmakers are never going to be like, oh, it's a bad spot. Let me move it a point and a half.
Sure,
They're going
sure.
to be slave to the power ratings.
Yeah, so the spot you can look at the spot, but I think also look at where you think there's market inefficiencies. And I do believe that there was a market inefficiency here because I felt the Lions are more closely rated to the Ravens and therefore should have had a similar spread here at home than the Ravens had just a mere 2 weeks ago.
I
So,
think that's fair.
yep, and that's something that we can look at. We'll go through this exercise when we look at the future lines and things like that. You mentioned the Panthers get blown out. Patriots, they're starting to look good. Drake May played well, 14 of 17, 203 yards and 2 touchdowns. But the Panthers, sometimes McKenzie, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday because they took the Patriots in Circa Survivor. And they were like, yeah, people were giving me grief for taking the Patriots. And I said, why? I said, sometimes the handicap is very, very easy. Fade bad quarterbacks. And that's it. Just bet against bad quarterbacks. Bryce Young is not an NFL quarterback. I don't care what anybody says.
Fired. Shots fired for the number 1 overall.
I'll fire the shot. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's just not. He's an incredible athlete. He's a good football player, but he's not an NFL quarterback. And the same goes for the number 1 overall pick this year in Cam Ward. He's an incredible athlete, tremendous football player. He is not an NFL quarterback. The Tennessee Titans are an embarrassment of an organization right now. The
Here's
Texans,
the only defense of Cam Ward, and he has been bad. They scored 0 points yesterday.
yeah,
Who was the worst quarterback in the league last year? By any metric, by most people's opinion, most like, wow, that guy was terrible. I would argue it was Will
Anthony
Levis
Richardson?
last year. Anthony
Or
Richardson, maybe. He was
Richardson,
in the
yeah.
top 3, but I would argue it was Will Levis.
Okay.
All right, this year, most people I think would argue, the numbers would argue it's likely Cam Ward. If, maybe J.J. McCarthy could sneak in there. It's probably Cam Ward. What do they have in common? They play for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
The coach of the Titans is 3-18 ATS. Like the one thing that he has is that he's part of a flaming garbage pile that's on fire. I guess it's flaming. And maybe he's not the reason that they are the worst offense in the history of man. Maybe he's just, one of the contributing factors. But yeah, pretty bad start for the number 1 overall.
The Titans changed their offensive play caller in week 4 of the season, and they didn't even give the play calling responsibilities to the offensive coordinator. They gave it to the quarterback coach. In a week where your quarterback missed some practice time and he's playing his 4th ever NFL game, you had an entire offseason to plan your offense. 4 weeks into the season, or should I say 3 weeks into the season, you're now changing your offensive play calling? You're now changing the voice.
Water off the Titanic right now.
Exactly. What a disaster. Eagles beat the Bucks, McKenzie, and they are just inevitable. Do you realize
this was their best game of the season? At least the
realize,
first half was.
Do you realize that because of the running back for a safety at the end of the game, the Eagles had negative yardage in the second half?
That is wild. They were like, yards are out. Yards are passé. We already did the yards. We're not about yards anymore. No, negative yards in the second half. They scored 31 points in the game.
The Eagles had negative yards in the second half because of that fluke, running back to do the safety here. and that's a historic moment. So they win that
And
game.
it was minus.
By,
It wasn't minus 80 yards. It was minus 35 yards that drive. So it's man, they had no yards. They did nothing, and somehow the blocked punt in the first drive of the game seemed to set the tone, where it was just not going to be the Bucks game.
Eagles had 201 yards of total offense at the half. They finished the game with 200 yards of total offense. So just unbelievable. But they're so good.
In other sports, not really basketball or baseball, but really only soccer. There's like different ways to win. You can get a lead and then you can park the bus, as they say, or you can go after it and start racing guys. The Eagles play like they're playing a different sport. Like they don't even need to do anything after their special teams gets 3 blocks in 15 minutes of football, and they're just going to be like, all right, well, we're just winning every time we step onto the field.
Can we talk about the blocks for a second? We have seen, I tweeted it out yesterday, 2025 is the year of the blocked kick. We are seeing so many blocked kicks. And what I put on Twitter last night, which I was half joking but half kind of serious, I said the NFL is a copycat league, right? And I wonder if there's some, special teams coaches out there are seeing something on film with these blocked kicks that they are now copying to try and get after the kicker. And then I jokingly said, or maybe the new K-balls just have a shorter flight path. So like the new K-balls aren't going as high in the air, but that's a joke. But can I bring up like a conspiracy theory to you?
It's a joke, but I mean, the kicks are so much further now that they might be used to having a lower trajectory. If you're swinging a golf club, it's got to go low to go far, because it keeps rising. Yeah, maybe something to it.
So maybe you think kickers are practicing now to kick the ball longer, so they're practicing to have a lower trajectory on their kicks? Because they're all practicing to have deeper kicks.
That's what I'm thinking. 15 total blocked kicks, punts, and four punts, 11 other kicks in this season already. It's a lot.
Well, here's my conspiracy. And I wanted to, and I didn't bet it, but I wanted to. Last week, I wanted to bet that there was going to be a blocked kick. Now, why did I want to bet that there was going to be a blocked kick last week?
Where can you find such a wager?
You can't.
But I wanted to.
I wanted to. I mean, can you like make it up like somewhere? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But here this
go to
was
a bar and start telling people, I bet there's only going to be 2 block kicks this week.
This was my put on the tinfoil hat moment.
All right.
2 weeks ago, the way that Broncos game against the Colts ended, with the leverage penalty on the kick that was missed, allowing the Colts to then re-kick, I felt that maybe the memo was sent out to the officials that, hey, we don't want to ruin a game like this anymore. So let's be a little lenient on the leverage stuff, okay? Only call it if it's egregious. Only call it if you clearly see a leverage point. Let's not be so ticky-tack on the leverage. And I felt that, well, this next week, I was just thinking after watching that kick and complaining about losing money with the Broncos, I was thinking, I bet you, you know what? I bet you next week they're not going to call this. I bet you next week someone's going to use leverage on a kick and block a kick, and it's not going to be called because the NFL doesn't want these calls to ruin games. So that was my conspiracy theorist moment. Now, I think it doesn't hold water because I watched a lot of these replays of these blocked kicks, and it's not like there was leverage. It's not like there was a guy jumping over the center or whatever. A lot of these, plays they were coming from the outside. Free runners that were just jumping in and blocking kicks. So I can think that maybe my conspiracy theory had something if some of these blocked kicks were coming from the middle and pushing down and allowing some leverage moments that weren't called, but not really. But it was an interesting
but
theory.
I also don't think there was really any leverage on the play that won the Colts the game.
No, there wasn't.
It
there wasn't.
It was a nonsense call.
Yeah, it was ticky-tack,
which would emphasize why they would tell the referees, guys, we don't want this to be a conversation point.
That's what I'm thinking.
NFL Sunday.
That's what I'm thinking. That's why I think maybe that's another reason why we're seeing an uptick in blocked kicks, because teams are utilizing leverage and getting away with it where maybe it would normally be called. So
last year through 4 weeks, there was 9 blocked kicks. So almost a 50% increase, more than a 50% increase from 15 through 4 weeks.
Wow. That's interesting stuff there. Okay, let's talk about the 49ers beating the Jaguars, or 49ers losing to the Jaguars, excuse me, in a game in which they had multiple guys banged up, right? Pearsall goes out during the game, but the 49ers still had a chance. They had a
Somehow.
chance, and
Yep.
then the strip sack fumble of Brock Purdy, and that was all she wrote. They didn't get another chance to go down and score. Jaguars come away with the 26-21 win, and then after the game, Liam Cohn says to Robert Saleh, keep my name out your mouth.
The
Because
Will
earlier this
Smith
week,
line that
yeah,
rings throughout eternity.
because all this week, Robert Saleh was talking about how Liam Cohn steals signs on defense and all this stuff and whatever. Well, Liam Cohn got the last laugh. And I will
Yep.
say this, watching some of the players during that little, post-game little interaction,
Hmm.
I think that was a good move by Liam Cohn.
Yeah,
Whether
right. He's got to drop the Duval charges. He's got to get that tough card back.
Yeah, I feel like the players kind of might feed off of that. Might have his back a little bit now. Might say, "Hey, look at our coach. He's a badass, right? He ain't taking no shit from Robert Saleh. I know Saleh's jacked and everything, but he ain't taking no shit. He said, "Hey, Saleh, keep my name out your mouth, bro." And I think the players respond to that. But what's your assessment here of the 49ers who dropped their first game of the season?
I think it's a downgrade. They lost by 5 points despite having 4 turnovers versus 0 turnovers and 6 drops on Brock Purdy's balls. So if I wanted to put my homer cap on, I could argue, we're going to lose some games. We're not going 17-0. Look at the turnovers. Look at the drops. This was not representative of the Niners. This shouldn't be a downgrade. However, watching the games, trying to be objective and honest with you guys, there's 2 reasons why we got to downgrade them, because what we hung our hat on, the 49ers faithful, was having a new revamped defense with Saleh averaging 17 points allowed per game. Well, they allowed 17 in the first half and a
Yep.
lot of rushing yards, and it did not seem that hard for Trevor Lawrence going up and down the field. And the other one's Brock Purdy. We thought Brock Purdy, kind of made lemonade last year with no real weapons, and he could kind of do that. He could kind of move around. On that last snap, it was 3.5 seconds I saw on Twitter from snap, fake the ball to McCaffrey, look down the field before he was strip sacked and fumbled. That's a long time to abort, drop to the ground, run and throw it away, do something else other than hold it and kind of just stand there like a sitting duck. You could say it's his first game back. I'm hoping that's the case, but he did not look like he was worth the $50 million in this game. He did in week 1, not in this game. I got to think with the lack of weapons that they currently have, with no Kittle, no Ayuk, this is a huge Thursday night game. We usually do well against the Rams, but this is not the team I thought it was heading into this week. I do think there's more holes there, starting with Purdy in the defense.
I think it was pretty obvious that Purdy's still not 100%. He wasn't scrambling. He wasn't, you mentioned he was kind of a sitting duck at times. I think it has to do with he's just not 100% healthy with a foot and all the other injuries that he's been dealing with. I just think he's not 100% right now. And it's too bad Mac Jones was not healthy to play in this game, because I think that if Mac
People
Jones,
were saying, should Purdy even be out there? Well, it's
that's
not like
the thing.
Mac Jones was 100% either.
I think if Mac Jones was 100% healthy, I think they would have given Purdy another game, and they would have brought him back for the Thursday night game against the Rams.
Yeah,
That
would have made sense.
just kind of looked like that. Speaking of the Rams, they beat the Colts 27-20. I don't know what type of blown coverage that was that led to a Tutu Atwell 88-yard touchdown reception to win the game, but just unbelievable. You know what else was unbelievable in this game? Puka Nacua. You
I thought you
cannot
were going to say
defend.
fumbling out of the end zone on
That
a
too. I mean,
breakaway.
Adonai Mitchell. That's just the
Well,
fact
we saw Deshaun Jackson drop it. I don't know why everyone's
yeah.
so excited to drop the ball when they near the goal line, but
And
that
you know
was
something?
maybe the worst of all time.
Khalil Shakir did it in the Buffalo Bills game, but he was at least 2 steps into the end zone, and then he dropped the ball behind him. But
I would have a
it's so
rule:
funny.
3 steps, touch the end zone with the ball before you drop it. If you're on my team,
It's so funny. Like when I watched Khalil Shakir do it, I was like, hey, no one's going to bring up the fact that he dropped the ball behind him. And I was like, oh, well, I guess he was like 2 steps into the end zone, but still and then of course later in the day, it happened with in this Rams game with Adonai Mitchell. It's so stupid. How do you do it? But Puka Nacua, McKenzie, you can't cover the kid. 13 catches, 170 yards and a touchdown, 15 targets. You can't cover him. It's unbelievable. He catches everything. He gets open on every route. He is such an incredible weapon for Matt Stafford.
If you look at Malik Neighbors and you look at Puka Nacua, they're both targeted at a similar rate. However, Puka Nacua is a point per play, where Malik Neighbors was unfortunately injured, like a quarter point per play. It's like the if you're looking at a chart and its productivity and effectiveness, he's in the top right of every receiver in the NFL. I don't know how he wasn't seen like this heading into college. I know what magic Sean McVay he dusted on him, but he's the best receiver in the league right now. I mean, statistically.
He's unbelievable. He really is. And that's going to be a phenomenal game that we'll talk about a little bit later on this week. Real quick, let's talk Raiders lose to the Bears in a game where the Raiders tried to give it away so many times. Geno Smith, another poor turnover-heavy game. And the Bears, they looked terrible until they didn't at the end. Like the Bears, it was like the Raiders gave them every opportunity.
Both teams should be fired.
It was so crazy. Like I was talking to so many people yesterday when I was at Circa about how, man, could you believe the Bears are going to lose this game? Like the Raiders have given the game away to the Bears, and the Bears still aren't going to win this football game. And then what happens? The Bears go and win the football game. So congratulations. They get the win 25-24 over the Raiders. But hey, Ashton Genty, welcome to the NFL. Breakout game for Ashton Genty. 138 yards and a touchdown. He had 2 receiving touchdowns as well. This is the kid that they drafted.
Unfortunately for the Raiders, it's not exactly that running backs don't matter after Saquon Barkley. We saw that they do matter, had such a good season last year, and that's definitely their future, the most exciting part about their building. But quarterbacks matter a lot more. And Geno Smith now 7 interceptions, leading the league by 2 interceptions.
It's pretty bad. All right, let's talk about the Chiefs beating the Ravens 37-20. I know Lamar Jackson's dealing with a little bit of hamstring issue. He came out of the game in the third quarter, didn't play the fourth quarter. I don't think it's an issue of a concern. I think it was just, hey, they were losing the game. They were getting blown out. Why run the risk and bring them back out there? It was kind of like a conceding moment here for Harbaugh.
As of this morning, there is no line on Ravens hosting the Texans next week. Mm-hmm. It was 9.5. The line when it pops up, if we don't think he's going to play, it's going to be 3.5. If it's 7.5, it's just a downgrade for the Ravens, and we expect him to play. If it's somewhere in the middle, it's somewhere in the middle. But I'm not sure he's going to play next week. I don't know. I didn't see any indication one way or the other.
How concerned are you with the Ravens? They're 1-3 now to start the year.
If I believed at all in the Pittsburgh Steelers, and even after their win in Dublin, I don't. I would be more concerned because the Bengals have fallen and they're not going to get up. The Browns were never going to get up. The Steelers are their only competition. Currently, -200, the Ravens. The 1-3 Ravens are to win the AFC North. The 3-1 Steelers are +240. I still think they get it. Even if it's 9-8, I think they're going to be the best team in that division, and that gives them a shot to change their playoff legacy. But they're definitely not as good as we thought. They're definitely probably not a good defensive team, probably a bottom 10 defensive team. Hard to win a Super Bowl that way.
Well, the takeaway that I had from that game is that the Chiefs are going to win their division once again. Up on FanDuel right now, Chiefs are +145 to win the West, but the Chargers lose, the Raiders lose, the Broncos are playing here on Monday Night Football, and the Chiefs just look good, and they're getting healthier. Like there's going to be so Xavier Worthy came back. It's only a matter of time before Rashee Rice comes back, and now this is about to be a dangerous team because they still don't have a run game, and that's a concern. But with a full complement of weapons, with Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy and Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster, this is about to be the Chiefs. They stumbled early. They're about to find their footing.
Do you know when Patrick Mahomes last had a 4-touchdown game?
I want to say probably September of last year.
It was October of the year prior to last year.
Wow.
0 4 touchdowns last year. The last time he had 4 touchdowns and no picks, that was October of 3 years ago. So it's been a while since we've seen the offense look like the offense. If they did this in 2019, 37 points, it's another game for the Chiefs. I think the fact that Worthy's back and they had this performance back to back, I would be optimistic if I'm a Chiefs fan as well.
Yep, plus 145 right now to win the AFC West. Okay, Mackenzie, we have a Monday night doubleheader tonight. It is game one, Jets at the Dolphins, and right now Miami is a 2.5-point favorite. And then the second game is the Cincinnati Bengals at the Denver Broncos, where Denver is currently a 7.5-point favorite. Now, the Dolphins and the Jets fall into a category of a trend that I was looking at, which is 0-3 teams, right? And here's the trend. Since the start of the 2021 season, 0-3 teams in week number 4, 9-3-2 against the spread. However, we need to update those numbers now. The New York Giants, an 0-3 team, 1 covered. The Houston Texans, an 0-3 team, 1 covered.
But they were facing an 0-3 team as well.
I'm going to get to that. Okay.
Right.
The New Orleans Saints, an 0-3 team, covered the spread. So now with those 3 covers, the numbers are now 12-3-2. Yes, the Texans did beat another 0-3 team, so we'll make it 12-4-2 ATS in week number 4. And this goes back even the last 10 seasons prior to this week. It was 27-14-3 ATS. So 0-3 teams in week 4 has been a profitable trend. But now here's the subset. When those teams are favored, like the Texans were yesterday, they are now a perfect 5-0 straight up in ATS. And the Dolphins are also the 0-3 favorite. And this is not a recent trend. That's since 2021. You want to go back since 2012, 0-3 favorites, 12-5, now 13-5 straight up, and now 11-5-2 against the spread. So the Dolphins would qualify here as the big time backing of an 0-3 favorite. Can you get behind it?
It makes sense because it doesn't make sense. Because if you're looking at any data from this year, the Dolphins 30th in scoring margin, one of the worst offenses, probably the worst defense. And that's why the line is where it is, where it's like in the summer, this would have been 6? And the market's only going to move so much. They're very disciplined and not overreacting like a fan might, like I might, looking at the data and, having my eyes bulge. But priors should probably be the majority of your power ratings on these teams. And the Jets have been better than the Dolphins this year, but we expected the Dolphins to be so much better. The market's not probably making a mistake here, leaving it as Dolphins favored.
In the history of the entire database, going back to the early 90s, in week number 4, when 2 winless teams play against each other, the favorite is 14-7 straight up, 12-8-1 ATS.
And would that be 13-8-1 after the Texans?
No, that includes the Houston Texans win.
Oh, okay. 12-8.
Yep.
60%. We'll take that.
60% ATS, 66.7% straight up. The favorites. Home favorites. Actually, not that great. 6-5 straight up, 5-6 ATS.
See, that kind of explains it there, where what this trend is saying, if you're the better team and the market's able to withstand your losses and still make you the better team, you're generally going to rally the troops and get this one done if it's the last thing you do, if you're the better team. If you're a home favorite, you're not necessarily the better team. The market is essentially saying these are even teams, both equally motivated to change their season.
That's a great what's amazing is we don't have the situation here. I wish we did this week. If the Jets were favored, away favorites in week number 4, when both teams are 0-3, 8-1 straight up in ATS.
Makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense because they're just amazing. So much better than their opponent.
Yes, it's amazing. I wish that was the case, but it's not the case. Here's what I did look up if we're trying to do a little same game parlay, and maybe what we do for tonight is not.
How did we not get that last same game parlay? God damn.
We'll get one. Yeah, we're gonna hit these. But here's the thing, Mackenzie. Maybe instead of a same game parlay tonight, we do
cross game parlay. All right,
yeah, a 2-game same game parlay with both Monday night football games. So here's what I like in this first game. I was looking at some next gen stats. The Jets have played press man at the highest rate in the NFL this season. That's 33.9%. That would be, if they did that for the entire year, the highest rate by any team since the year 2020.
Aaron Glenn was famous for his man coverage with Detroit.
Mhm.
So you
When
would think it would continue.
Now, when quarterbacks have targeted a wide receiver in press man coverage this season, the Jets have allowed the second most yards and the seventh highest completion percentage. So they play press man more than
They're not
anybody in the
that good at it.
NFL, but they still give up yardage. And so I looked at the Dolphins. Press coverage this season, 32 routes run by Jalen Waddle, 4 catches on 5 targets for 41 yards and 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 27 routes, 3 catches on the same 5 targets, only 31 yards, no touchdowns. The next highest after those guys, Malik Washington, 17 routes, no catches on only 1 target. Nobody else has more. Tanner Connor, the tight end, has run 6 routes, but that's it. 1 route for Alex Ingberg, 3 routes for another guy. Devon Achane, 2 routes run against press man. So really, it's Hill and Waddle are the 2 guys that have run the routes. But seeing Waddle have 5 more routes run against press man and have those 2 touchdowns makes me want to bet Jalen Waddle tonight. What do you think?
Tyreek Hill over 64.5. Jalen Waddle 51.5. The Jets defense has been giving up a lot of yardage, but I don't know. Maybe I'm pegging Tyreek Hill too much as the standard, but I feel like Jalen Waddle is not within 14 yards of Tyreek Hill.
I agree. And also, let's keep in mind that the Jets have one of the top cover corners in the NFL in Sauce Gardner, who what he's been doing this season, more so than a lot of seasons in the past, is he has been shadowing. Okay?
Okay,
so,
he has been. Okay.
Yes. So actually, give me 1 second because I'm going to pull this up. The shadow report here. Okay. Let's get this up here. Because I believe if we look at the reports here, I can tell you exactly what the rate is for Sauce Gardner. But yes, I believe he has been shadowing receivers more than in under this Aaron Glenn here, under this Aaron Glenn defense, in this Aaron Glenn defense, I should say.
So you think he shadows Tyreek Hill?
I think so. I think so.
Makes me kind of want to play Tyreek Hill under, but it's not a crazy high number. Is it so anti-correlated that we'd get a huge payout if we do Dolphins with Tyreek Hill under? If it's 5-1, take it to the bank.
Of course, that's correlated. It's plus 213 if you go Hill under and Waddle over. I don't want to do that.
No. I wanted to go just Dolphins money line or minus 2.5 and Tyreek Hill under. I feel like that's anti-correlated.
Oh, like instead of doing Waddle over, you want to do just Tyreek Hill under? I don't want to do a Tyreek Hill under because you're 1 screen pass away from him just breaking it and going for 60.
That's why it's so fun. The whole game you can barely watch it.
I know.
All right, we'll find something else. Keep it.
But I do think that we will see Sauce Gardner shadow Tyreek Hill.
So here Waddle over.
Yeah. So let's see here. Yes. So Sauce in week 3 he aligned against Mike Evans 65% of the routes.
Okay.
He did shut down DK Metcalf though, shadowing him. And here's a report from Fantasy Points who says they're projecting Aaron Glenn's going to continue to use Sauce Gardner in shadow. He's going to yep. That's the thing. Yep. I love it. Okay. So that's going to be the first play. We're going to make that official. First play, Jalen Waddle over. Do we go over receptions or over yardage? 4.5 receptions.
I feel like with man, you're more likely to get those. Someone drops on the route and you get those long plays.
You're right. Okay.
So I feel like yardage.
Okay. So Jalen Waddle over 50.5 receiving yards. That is leg number 1. I want to do this. I want to do 2 legs in the first game, 2 legs in the second game. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's do something now also for this game. Doesn't have to be negatively correlated, but it could be, or it could just be just a second leg here. Is there anything about this game that jumps out to you that you want to you want to key in on here?
There's a strong trend that's 61% that fits the Dolphins, which is they played their last game on Thursday in week 3, and now they're playing on Monday. So not only did you get the long break Thursday to Sunday, get the extra long break Thursday to Monday. Those games have 30 overs, 47 unders. I kind of like the under here for that reason.
Okay, let's do it.
45 and a
Jalen,
half also is not a bad number.
what it's 44.5 up on FanDuel.
Okay. Yeah, I'm seeing 45 and a half at DraftKings. I bet under 45. So 44 and a half is still in range for a parlay.
So
I don't think that's that key of a number. I mean, I wish it was 45 and a half. What are you going to do?
Well, if it's 24-21, that's 45.
Yeah, it could come up. Could come up.
So let's do. I guess we can do an alternate total. We can do an under 45 and a half.
Yeah, I'd rather lay 120 and get the hook.
Okay.
I could.
So okay. And you know what? It doesn't change the same game parlay that much. It's like that just downgrades it a little bit. So at plus 239 for these two legs, Jalen Waddle over 50 and a half receiving yards, and we're going to have the alternate under of 45 and a half. Okay. So that is the leg number 1 or 2 legs here of this one. Now let's talk about the second game, and that is the Bengals at the Denver Broncos. Which way are you leaning here to start?
I think I'm leaning heavily towards the Bengals in the points. The Broncos probably win this game 80% of the time, just like the market says, but I don't think they cover 50% of the time or even close. Bo Nix has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL, but they're still pretty much where we thought they were because their defense has been that good. We would think of them a lot better if they would have not blown leads in their last 2 fourth quarters, but I think that was more quarterback related. I think they're going to keep it very close to the vest and win a close game here.
So this is another case where we're going to have Patrick Surtain shadowing Jamar Chase. So
Right.
maybe there's an angle here where we look at like a T. Higgins props or something like that. No?
Quentin Johnson kind of lit up Patrick Surtain. It's not like one game changes our opinion, but
all right. So how about this then? Leg number 1, we'll take the 7.5 points with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now I would like to have a negative correlation on this leg, so I'd like to go something positive for the Denver Broncos. What do we think about
Cortland Sutton over? I don't hate. He's been pretty good despite Bo Nix being terrible. What do you think? 64 and a half though. Not sure about that.
I was thinking about Bo Nix props, and I was thinking, as crazy as it sounds, but it would be a massively negatively correlated parlay.
Anytime touchdown? What are you thinking?
Bo Nix over 1.5 passing touchdowns.
You know, it's not that crazy because, I mean, he hasn't been great, which is exactly why if it's 3rd and 3, they would like to get him a little shovel pass touchdown if they could get his confidence up. So if they're going to win this game 20-14, they could grab 2 touchdowns from Bo Nix. Wouldn't shock me. I mean, I would like to get plus. Is the prop by itself plus money? Because I feel like it should be plus money by itself.
No, it's minus 114.
So it's pretty much even.
Yeah.
I mean, how big is the anti-correlation?
It makes it a plus 298 same game parlay.
Just those 2 legs.
Just those 2 legs.
All right, so that is much better than just the 260 you get with 2 minus 110 bets. So that's pretty. Yeah, it's getting us there. It's getting a little value there.
The other thing that I was thinking of is, as I'm looking at some next gen stats here, it says here the Bengals have used nickel personnel on 78.5% of their plays so far this season. That is the 7th highest rate of any team. They have surrendered an average of 5.1 yards per play in nickel. That's a little bit below the league average. The Broncos have played 11 personnel on 79 of 91 snaps in which they have seen nickel. They have averaged 5.1 yards per play in 11 personnel, the 10th lowest mark in the league. So if we're talking about 11 personnel, that means only one tight end on the field. Do we look at an under receiving prop on Broncos tight ends?
If it's a juicy enough number, I don't mind that at all.
Let's
so what
see.
are we looking at here?
We're looking at is Evan Ingram going to be activated for this game? Is he good?
His number is at 18.5.
So low.
He's averaging 16.5 on the year.
He is supposed to return from injury.
So that's good. He might play one snap then and get us this cash. I like a player returning from injury to have an under on him.
Yeah. He says he feels great. He should be back here for them.
What else is he going to say?
Yeah.
I feel pretty bad. I feel like I might get blown up or play one snap in this game.
So would you rather have the second leg of this parlay? First leg is Bengals plus 7.5. Would you rather have the second leg be Knicks over 1.5 passing yards or Evan Ingram under 17.5 receiving yards?
Passing touchdowns, I would grab the Ingram. I know it's correlated, so we're not going to get as juicy of a payout. But I hate to be in a situation where the Bengals are down 6, the Broncos are driving, and Bo Nix has one touchdown. Because if he scores the touchdown, we lose, and if he doesn't score the touchdown,
I'd also hate to just have Evan Ingram just catch
one pass.
One pass for 18 yards.
Maybe this is a 3-leg parlay. Maybe we just try to get to the window on this one. I'm not sure.
How do you feel about the total? 43.5. Over.
I feel like, hey, if the Broncos cover, I think it goes under. So we're already presuming the Bengals cover. I don't think they do that on defense. I do think they do that. Putting up some numbers.
All right, so it's at 40 over 43.5. Bingo.
43.5. Now that's a number I love because I'm looking at 44.5 at this book. So I'll take a 43.5 if I can get it.
So this is what we are going to do. We are building a 2-game, same game parlay for the Monday Night Football doubleheader, courtesy of the FanDuel Sportsbook. Leg number 1, which is going to be a 2-leg parlay for game number 1. Now, you can play these all individually, of course, and maybe that's the recommendation. Play them all individually. But for game number 1, we are going to go with the under, slightly adjusted, 45.5. Why? Because 45 is a key number. It could be 24, 21 final. We're going to go under 45.5 for the Jets and the Dolphins. The second leg of the same game parlay for game 1 of the Monday Night Football doubleheader is going to be Jalen Waddle, Dolphins wide receiver, over 50.5 yards. The explanation here is that the Jets play press man coverage at the highest rate in the NFL so far this season under their new head coach, Aaron Glenn. And if you look at the Miami Dolphins, their offense this season through the first 3 weeks have targeted Jalen Waddle the majority of the times, or I should say more times than Tyreek Hill and anybody else.
A plurality of the times, for sure.
Yes, more times than the other players against press man coverage. And he also has caught 2 touchdowns against press man coverage. Nobody else on the team has caught any touchdowns against press man coverage. Plus, you have the added benefit of knowing that Sauce Gardner, the Jets' top cornerback, is going to be shadowing Tyreek Hill. That is a new role for Sauce Gardner this year. He has been shadowing the opposition's best wide receiver, and Aaron Glenn has made all indications known that it's going to continue. Sauce Gardner will be shadowing Tyreek Hill. So we're going Jalen Waddle over 50.5 receiving yards with the under 45.5 for the Jets and the Dolphins. That by itself, those 2 legs, is plus 239. Now we're going to parlay that with our other 2-leg parlay for game number 2 of the Monday Night Football doubleheader. We're going to take the 7.5 points with the Cincinnati Bengals. We think that this is a market overreaction to how bad they looked last week against the Minnesota Vikings. This is the time where we want to buy the dip in the market. So everybody's anti-Bengals. We're going to buy in on the Bengals. Let's keep it within a touchdown. Lose the game, who cares? Keep it within a touchdown. And I do think that this is correlated. If the Bengals are going to keep this close, we're going to see a higher scoring game. So leg 2 of the parlay is the over 43.5 for the Bengals and the Broncos. That by itself is plus 241. When you parlay those 2 together, we have a 4-leg Monday Night Football doubleheader, same game parlay, courtesy of the FanDuel Sportsbook at plus 1058. That is what we are going with here on Monday night.
11-1 essentially. Action all night. It's going to be fun. We're going to get there, boys.
Let's Let's rock and roll. Also, the Major League Baseball postseason will begin on Tuesday, tomorrow. So we're going to have on tomorrow morning's episode, we'll do a little baseball preview for the Major League Baseball postseason. Don't forget, you can follow Mackenzie Rivers on social media at Mackin Rivers. The NBA season is coming up, and we are working on some stuff for Mackenzie to provide you with for the NBA season, so you're not going to want to miss that. You can follow me on social media at Scott's On Air, and here's hoping you make today and every day a better day.